Hi, everyone. Hi, Arlene. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to give folks a minute or so to come on in the room. We started a minute or so late, and for that, I apologize. Thanks for being here, though. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Technology Tuesdays. My name is Lydia Nimke, and I'm the adult librarian here at the Tippecanoe branch. And I'm really excited to bring you today's presentation on Outlook Mail and Outlook Calendar. We'll be doing a kind of dive into Microsoft products this month, so it's great to start off with Outlook for email. You all are muted and have your microphones or cameras turned off by default, but please don't let that stop you from asking any questions you may have about today's presentation in the Q&A box down below. With us today in the background, we have the adult librarian from the East Branch, Beth Gabriel.
Hi, everyone. I'm waving at my screen like you can see me, but you can't. Sorry about that. I'm here to help read your questions out loud to Lydia, so do type them into the chat or the Q&A as we go along. And let me know if you have any computer issues on your end, and I can help with that too. Have a good presentation.
Thanks, Beth. So let's jump in and talk about main concepts. First, we'll talk about the version of Office we're going to be using for this whole month. It's a totally free web-based version, so we'll get more into Office 365. Then we'll talk about using Outlook for email, and we'll have demonstrations specifically surrounding sending emails and managing the emails that you receive. And then we'll touch on Outlook Calendar. It works pretty much the same as other calendar apps we've gone over in the past. So we'll talk about that at the end to kind of wrap up our discussion of Outlook. And let's get started. So this version of Office is what we'll be using this month. It's important for me when I'm doing these sorts of demonstrations that I can make sure everyone has a frame of reference for where we're starting, and if possible, we're all looking at as near to the same thing as possible. So this is a web-based version of Microsoft, and it has a bunch of the more common Microsoft apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and what have you. And you can use this anywhere you have internet access. There's no installation required. There's nothing to download. And the best part, of course, is that it's free. All you need to do to get started is head on over to office.com and either log in or create an account. You'll be logging in with your Microsoft password. So if you have had a Microsoft password or account in the past, you can log in with that, or you can create a new one. I love these web and cloud-based document storage solutions because they really allow you to work from anywhere. I, in any given workday, may log into 3 different computers. I have 2 computers at work and I have this computer at home. So it's very important for me in my workflow that I can pick up what I'm doing no matter where I am and still, see my documents, see the presentation I'm working on for Tech Tuesday, and so on. And of course, have access to my email. You need that wherever you go. So account creation for a Microsoft account is actually very simple. It's one of the most simple ones. You pretty much just decide on your email address and then pick a password. Now, when you're deciding on your email address, you have to take into account what you're going to be using that email address for and whether or not you might be a little embarrassed to say the name of the email to a complete stranger or someone you're applying for a job with, or you know, your kid's kindergarten teacher. So make sure that the email you pick fits the circumstance. It's quite common for folks to use some variation of their first name, middle initial, last name, some combination thereof, mixed in with like the year they were born or the month they were born or some other important number to them. And when you pick your password, you should pick a secure password, right? I know it's very tempting to create an easy password like your last name and then some number, the year you were born behind it. But those type of passwords are really easy to guess and they're really easy to hack. So it's better to take the time to come up with a more secure password that has multiple elements, like the ones I have on the example slide for you coming up next. So here are some secure password examples. You can see that they all have uppercase and lowercase letters mixed in randomly. They all have at least 8 characters. They all have at least one number. And they all have at least one special character. So these are some examples of some passwords that are secure in the traditional sense. Now, once you're able to log on to office.com, you'll see a screen that looks something like this one. And this is really your home base for accessing all of your Office apps. And it will show you some of your recently opened documents, notebooks, things like that here if you have some that have been recently used. If you're creating a new account, more likely than not, this will be entirely blank. And it's only as you start using Office 365 that you'll see your recent documents there. But to access Outlook, we're going to look over in the left hand. There is a toolbar here with all of our apps. And going from the top to the bottom, you'll see there's Word, there's Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and then what we're going to talk about today is Outlook. And Outlook has an O on the icon and an opening envelope. When you click on that icon, you will see something that looks somewhat like this. And you are automatically taken into your email inbox. Just to give you a brief tour, because we will go over this again in our demonstration, you have a new message button in the upper left-hand corner. Going down the side here, you have all of your folders. So your inbox, which is where all of your incoming mail will first come to. Your junk email. And this is something that you can decide, or that Outlook may decide for you, that an email is from a sender who is trying to get information out of you, trying to get you to download something that's going to harm your computer, what have you. So it may automatically send it to junk, or you can send emails you don't want to receive into the junk folder. Drafts is another folder that's automatically kind of set up by Outlook. And you can think of a draft as you would think of a letter draft or a draft of a paper. It's something you were writing, but you didn't actually send. So it's waiting for you there to either finish sending or to, delete or throw in the trash. Your sent items, so all the items that you send out, will appear in the sent items folder. Any items that you delete or want to throw out will appear in this deleted items folder. And then below that, we have the archive, which the best way to describe the archive is, say you get an email that you don't want to delete, you may have to refer to in the future for whatever reason, but you don't need to see it clogging up your inbox. You may archive it or file it away for future reference. And then right in the middle here, because as you see, the inbox folder is highlighted, we are looking in the inbox folder right now. And we can click on this email to read it. Now, before we go too much further, I just want to briefly go over some email basics, just in case you haven't seen the previous Tech Tuesdays we've gone over on Gmail. But email addresses have 4 main components. The first is the username, which is what you decide to make your email address. In this example, it's LC Nimke. A lot of folks, as I mentioned, will opt for first, middle initial, and their last name, or some combo of that. Others prefer to use nicknames or code names for privacy or anonymity. The second component is the @ symbol. Every email must have this @ symbol, otherwise it's not going to go through. It's not an email. The third component is the host name, or the name of the internet service provider. In my circumstance of this example, it's the name of the government I work for, the organization I work for. And the last piece is the domain name. So this is my work email, as I said. So it ends in .gov because I work for the government. If that email ended in .com, you could be pretty sure that that person doesn't work for the government, or at least they're not emailing you in official capacity, because you know that distinction between .gov, .org, .edu, and .com. So your email account, be it in Outlook, be it in Gmail, be it in Yahoo, or the host of other email servers out there, they allow you to send and receive electronic messages or emails. You can send them to one person at a time, and you can send them to multiple people at once. After you receive email, you can store it in your inbox. You can move it to a different folder in your email account, forward it on to other people, reply, so send an email back to the person who sent you that message. You can delete the email. And in addition, if you have a printer, you can print a paper copy of that email off to refer to. It usually only takes a few seconds, maximum a few minutes, for emails to arrive at their destination. And if you don't happen to have an email account and you're watching this as a recording on YouTube at some point in the future, an email account really allows you to get access to a lot of other services on the internet, because a lot of times you'll have to sign up for accounts before you can do things like use social media or even sign up to get a Netflix account, things like that. And with that, we shall hop into Outlook and do some demonstration on what it looks like and how it works. So I just made this email account for our demonstration purposes today. And it is, brand new, so there's not a lot in it. But one thing the Office does that is really nice is it gives you a little tour guide in the form of pop-ups when you first log in to kind of orient you to where everything is. So this is that same screen we were looking at on a previous slide. And as you can see, if you hover over any of these icons over on the left here, it will tell you what the application is. So you don't have to remember, that the O over the envelope is Outlook. If you just hover over it, it'll tell you that it's Outlook. So we'll go ahead and click on that to access Outlook. And here we are. So again, just a brief orientation on the inbox. Here is our new message button. That's what we're going to press anytime we want to send a completely new email. Going down, we have our inbox, which has a few things in it. Our sent items, our drafts, and we can also look at the junk email and deleted items and the archives down below. But let's go ahead and create a new message to start. Creating an email message is very simple. All you need to know is the email address of the person or people you are sending the email to. So just like when you give out your email address, you have to have all of those 4 components we mentioned earlier, lcnimke@milwaukee.gov. You have to have that same information for anyone you want to send an email to. So I'm just going to send an email to myself. And I can send this email to multiple people. So if I wanted to send this email to 9 other people I work with, 10 family members, 20 people who live on my block, I can do that. As long as I have their email addresses, I can send one email to almost as many people as I want. I've never run into it being too many people to send an email to. And the CC and BCC links over here allow you to input new lines, and CC is for carbon copy. So just sending a copy of the email to someone who's not necessarily the main recipient. And blind carbon copy is when you are sending an email to someone, but you don't want them to know who else gets the email. So, for example, I may use the carbon copy, CC, when I'm asking for a change to my work schedule and I have to get approval on that from my supervisor. I may CC my colleagues who work with me so they know I'm going to be late one day, or they know I'm asking for a specific day off or something like that. They can see that email and know that I've made a change to my schedule, but they can also respond and say that they're also going to be out that day, or they also have a doctor's appointment, whatever the case may be. For BCC, that is actually how I send all my follow-up emails to you all, because you are, kind enough to have trusted me with all of your emails by registering for this program. So when I send you the follow-up, I blind carbon copy everyone so I can send the email to all of you all at once, but that stops each of you from being able to see the other registrants' email addresses. You can only respond to me. You can't respond to any of them, and you don't have access to anyone else's email. So those are two options. If you have questions on that, feel free to, stop me on that. Moving down on below, you have your subject line. And of course, the subject is just a brief what the email you're sending is about. And then below that line is where you can add in the body of your email. If it's an informal email to, your sibling or your mother, you don't have to stand on ceremony. If it's a professional email, of course, it almost writes like a handwritten letter, salutation, body text, um, and signature. Let's see who's here today. Now, one thing that Outlook has recently updated to start doing in this free version is to auto-complete suggestions. You can totally turn this off in settings, or you can let the autocomplete, complete your sentence by pressing tab, or you can just keep writing and just kind of write on through it and nothing will happen. So our email is sent, and at the bottom here, you'll notice all our options for formatting text. So if we wanted to highlight something, we have that option there. Or if we wanted to bold something, we have that option. In fact, we can change the font as well as the size and styling. We can add in bulleted lists as well as numbered lists, change the indent level, the alignment, add in links, and so on. If you don't see this formatting bar and you need it, there's a chance it might be um, hidden from view. So all you have to do is come down to the very bottom of your email and click this button that is an A with like a little pencil next to it. Click that and your formatting options will appear. So it may be nice if you're emailing someone, who's you're a little older, if you bump up the font a little bit so they don't have to zoom in themselves. And down below again, we also have options to attach things to this email. So if we push this attach button, which is a paper clip, we can look on this computer I'm currently on for documents, photos, what have you, um, files to send. We can browse cloud locations, and we can also upload and share things to the OneDrive. So if I browse cloud locations, here's a picture of a display I did a long time ago. I can add that into this email and I'll see a little thumbnail of it. I can also add images in line, so in the body of the email, if I don't want to send it as an attachment. That's usually pretty big, but you can resize it down there. And of course, you can add emojis and things like that. To have fun with your email sending. And then if you like the look of this email, you can go ahead and push send. Right next to it is discard. So say I start sending this email off and all of a sudden I realize, oh, somebody else handled that. I don't need to send that email anymore. So I don't want to save this email in my drafts, taking up, valuable space in there. I can just discard it, or I can let it be saved in my drafts. But all that's left to do really is push send. But one more trick I'll show you, and this is my pro tip of using Outlook, is to push the down caret on the send button. And once you do that, you can actually set up the email to send itself later. So you don't look like the odd librarian who's checking her email at 9 o'clock at night that wants to respond to something. You can actually set your email to send in the morning at a reasonable time. So I can send this email tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. if I want. And, that is okay. Or you can just send the email right now and they'll get it in their inbox in a few seconds. Okay, and I just heard that email arrive in my other email account that I have open. So we know it's there. Are there any questions on sending mail or anything we've gone over so far about Outlook?
Okay, let's see. I just see one question. It's, are you able to have more than one account in Outlook, such as a business and a personal email?
Yes, totally. You are able to. Um, it's pretty simple. I think we click here. If you click on your profile and go to my Microsoft account, I think that is the area where you can add in other accounts. I used to be in school for a long time and I always had to kind of juggle my work email address with my school email address because they were both run through Outlook. So you can have multiple Outlook emails. You might have to, log out of one and then log into another, but you can have quite a few actually. That's a great question. I know a lot of people, are like, I have my personal email and my work email. And, it's kind of hard to tell at a glance which one you're in. Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
That's all I see so far. Just a reminder, everyone, if you do have questions, you can type them in the chat or the Q&A for me.
Absolutely. All right, then let's get into, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Let's get into managing emails. I fully admit I am not really the best person to to guide you on this. My email is always very full of emails, but I know in principle. So, like I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of different options for what you can do with your emails when you receive them. So, we're going to specifically be talking about these couple emails I have here. You can keep them in the inbox, and this is probably the easiest thing to do, but it may get a little cluttered up at a certain point. You can move it to a folder, and you may want to create a new folder to do that. So over on the left-hand side, under your folders, you can actually create a new folder. So this is great if you get a lot of emails from a specific person, or if you get a lot of emails about a specific subject, you can create a folder. And once that folder is created, you can put all of the emails that have to do with that subject or from that person in that folder. So you know where to find them very easily, but they're not in your inbox, kind of distracting you visually from things that may be more urgent or more important. So for example, this email, I may take this email and put it into the Technology Tuesdays folder we just created. Now you see it has disappeared from my inbox, but I still have access to it by going and clicking on the Technology Tuesdays folder. You can forward an email. So let's click on this email. And you can see kind of the options after you've received an email. So our basic options are to reply to the email, meaning I would just send an email directly back to the person who sent it to me. I can reply all to an email. And I find that a lot of people maybe confuse reply and reply all. Reply all means you're sending the email back to everyone else who is on that email. So all the people who are CC'd on the email, anyone else the email was sent to. So in that circumstance where I'm, sending an email to 20 of my neighbors on my block, if I reply all to an email like that, all 20 of my neighbors are going to get that email from me. If I just reply, just the one person who sent the email is going to get a reply from me. And then we can forward an email. So when we forward an email, we're just sending the email to another person. So I may forward an email to Beth and say, doesn't this look cool? We should do this at our library. or I may forward an email to my sister and say, I want to buy this for my nephew. Is this okay? And then there are some more actions as well under the little menu button over on the far right of your email, like delete, flag, and so on. This is also where you can print the email out, and I will show you what that looks like. It takes the email and puts it in a really printer-friendly view. So you can simply print it out and have it for your reference in a physical format if you need that. And if you don't have a printer at home and you need to print out an email because there's maybe a coupon in it or something, you should come visit us at the library with your email address and password, and we would be more than happy to help you print out whatever you need to from your email. Now, once you have read and processed and handled all of your email, you may want to go ahead and delete it. And there are two ways you can go about doing that. So you can hover over the email in the inbox. So without even having it open, you can hover over it and see this little trash can appears on the right here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little. So once you hover over it, you can see this little trash can appears on the right here. And you can press that and the email is deleted. Alternatively, if you go in, open an email and go into the More Actions button, you can delete it from here as well. Don't worry if you delete something by accident because it's not actually gone yet. If over on the left here, you go into the deleted items, items are held there for 30 days. So if you accidentally push that little trash can just while you're hovering over something trying to take a look at it, it's no big deal. You can just go into your deleted items, click on it again, and restore. And that'll be up at the top for you. And then it'll be right back in your inbox. So don't ever worry about deleting something on accident. It's usually recoverable. Okay. Are there any questions about Outlook?
Let's see, I'm not seeing any additional questions in the chat or the Q&A, so not right now. Oh, here we go. Sorry, just scroll back. Somebody would like to know how to do a signature, and then is everything in Outlook in the cloud?
Awesome. Okay, I will show you how to do a signature. Got to show, not tell, right? And yes, everything in Outlook is in the cloud. Yeah, it's all accessible no matter where you are. As long as you have that email address and password, you will be able to access it. Okay, so to create your signature, which is really important if you're sending off a lot of emails and don't want to have to type your name and your phone number and where you're at and your extension or whatever the case may be every single time, you can have that pre-written for you so that you can just insert it, or it'll even appear automatically on any new email you send. So to do that, we're going to go to the settings cog in the upper right-hand corner and go down to view all Outlook settings. from here, we can go down to, I think it's compose and reply. Yes. And this is where you'll add in your signatures. You can have multiple signatures because we're all, multifaceted people. So there may be sometimes, at least from my personal email address, where I'm sending an email as a librarian, even though it's not in a professional context. Maybe I'm reaching out to a friend or a mentor for some professional advice. I might use a slightly different signature than I would if I'm sending a quick email from my phone, responding to something my mom wants, right? So you can name your signature so that you know which signature you're selecting in which event. So I might make a Lydia, the librarian, which is what one of my uncles insists on calling me now. And it would probably be a little bit more professional than my other email signatures. And then once you have that basic information set up, you can do things like add in formatting, of course. You can add in images. Lots of my librarian friends have what they're currently reading in their signature. It's very on brand for us. You can, kind of customize it to make it your own, right? So I'll go there and make my name actually look like a signature. Okay. And once you have done that, you can press save down at the bottom of the screen there. And then you can select the default signature. So that signature that appears every time you send a new email, I guess. So if I want that signature to appear on my new messages, that's usually what I set it to. I don't need my name appearing every time, but for some people that's important, right? So you can select it for replies and forwards as well. There's some other good stuff down here. Highly suggest you check this out, especially if you do a lot of, business and want to try and automate some things. I would highly suggest you take a look here. And then once you hit save, you can go ahead and close this out. And then every time you open a new email, your signature will be down there at the bottom. And then you'll just fill in on the top. Cool beans. Any more questions?
Microphone's being weird. Sorry about that.
No
Let's
problem.
see. Should you empty your trash or is there a limited buildup?
I never personally empty my trash. I just let it get, I don't really even delete anything. Honestly, I'm the worst person to ask that. You should, you can empty it if you'd like, especially if you know there's spammy emails in there or emails, you don't want anything to do with. But if I'm just deleting something that I've processed, I'm done with, I might hang on to it because there have been times where maybe someone didn't get that email and I have access to it, so I can just forward it over to them. And it being saved in my deleted items kind of, helps me help them out. But it's personal preference, honestly. Thank you for the question.
All right. Gail would like to know, along with adding a signature, can you demonstrate how to create an e-business card? I don't know what that is.
I have come across it. I can't demonstrate it to you today. I'd need to do some more research. I could probably do a short little mini Tech Tuesdays on that at some point. I'm sorry, Gail. Thank you for the question, though, but I will follow up with you.
All right. And then Albert would like to know, are you familiar with Eudora? Eudora.
Is it a Greek goddess? I'm not. I'm sorry. I will have to learn more about that. I will make a note to look it up, though, unless you want to tell me about it in the chat. But since we're running short on time, okay, lots of interest in an e-business card. Okay. Cool. Thank you for telling me. Like I always say, this is your program. I just run it. Thank you all. All right, let's jump into an email program. Eudora is an email program that is wonderful, says Albert. I will have to look that up. I've never heard of it. But Albert recommends it, so it must be good. Thank you for the recommendation, Albert. I'm definitely going to check that out. All right. We're going to briefly touch on Outlook Calendar. So to access Outlook Calendar, you have to already be in Outlook. So you're going to access Outlook the same way we went over previously. And then from there, in the left-hand corner, you'll see apps again. And these apps allow you to access things within Outlook and some other applications that are frequently used within Office 365. But this is the calendar icon. Let's zoom in on that. Right under the mail icon. And once you click on that, you'll be taken into something that looks more or less like this. It should feel really similar to Outlook itself. It kind of has the same formatting. The new event button up here is in the same spot as the new message button and looks really similar. We have a overview of the month. And here, right in the middle of the screen, is where we can see our actual calendar. So because this is just an overview quickly of Outlook Calendar, I'm pretty much just going to talk about adding events. If you have more questions, of course, let me know. But it is one of the simpler things to do. You pretty much will click Add Event, that blue button, and enter your pertinent details, enough information that you know what you need to be doing at a certain time. You'll set the recurrence if there is any, and add a reminder if you so choose to do so. Reminders are really helpful in making sure you have enough time to prepare for what is upcoming and you have enough of kind of headway to make sure you are a valuable contributor. If you get a reminder at 5 o'clock on the day of your mother's birthday, if you don't remember that for some reason, it may just not be useful. But if you get a reminder a week before, that is a very useful tool. So you want to set your reminders appropriately, and we'll go over that in our demonstration. So like I mentioned, that was very brief, and we're going to hop back into Outlook and add some events to Outlook Calendar. So once again, we're going to go over on the left here to that second icon, And then once we hover over it, it will tell us it is the calendar. And we can click on that. And from here, let's add some events. And like I mentioned, this is my first time even logging into this Outlook account. So it's still prompting me through with some like tutorial type things. And it will do the same for you. So let's click the new event button. So whatever day is highlighted is the day your new event will be on. So if we click the new event button, it'll be on June 1st because that is the day that is highlighted currently on this calendar. We can also double click on any day and create an event that way, whatever option you prefer. So say on this day I have a meeting with Sue. That is the title of that meeting, and that's how it'll show up in my calendar. If I wanted to invite this Sue person to a meeting, I could type her email into here, the attendee section. And she would get the invitation to, put this in her calendar, and she would have to respond whether or not she's coming. But you don't need to have attendees on your meetings. That's just an option that's available for you if you want to make sure you're blocking time out in other folks' calendars as well. It's just an option available to you. And you can edit the date and time from here. That's a really important part. And here is where you're going to change the recurrence, but we'll go over that in a separate one. You can select a location for this meeting with Sue. And it can include the address, the physical address of the location as well, which is helpful for, if you're using your Google Maps or your Apple Maps to navigate, you can just go in your calendar, push on the location, and it will know automatically once you connect your car to it where you're supposed to be going. And then you would finally put in any details that you need for this meeting with Sue. Maybe you want to remind yourself that it's her performance review, or that you're planning Ben's birthday. Whatever the case may be, you don't have to add any notes if you don't want to. Now, up at the top here, you'll want to make sure that how it shows up in your calendar is accurate. So this is really important if you're using it in a Outlook and Outlook calendar professionally, that if you are busy, i.e. unavailable to take calls or, jump in on a meeting, or your office door is going to be shut, or you're not at your office at all, that this is right. So if you're free, working elsewhere, busy, away, what have you, that is important in a professional setting. If you're just using Outlook and Outlook Calendar for your own personal information to make sure you're not overbooking yourself, you don't really need to, futz with that at all. Once you're all done putting in what you find as pertinent information, you can hit save, and then that event will show up in the calendar here. Once you've scheduled your event, you can always click on it and edit it if you have to change the time around or what have you. Now, to give you an example of a recurring event, last week was one of my nephew's birthdays, so I want to add him into the calendar to make sure I never forget when Bobby's birthday is. I don't need to add any attendees. This is only for me to know. And it's not at a specific time. So I'm going to toggle on the all day button. We could make this stretch out over several days if you're scheduling, say, a vacation or an inspection process or something like that. But for a birthday, usually all day is good. And then over in the recurrence section, right where it says don't repeat, we want to click on that and actually change it to yearly. Your options for recurrence are daily events. Some people have daily morning meetings with their team or weekly morning meetings with their team. You can change it to weekly, monthly, or yearly, or even custom. So something that happens every 21 days or something that happens every 3 months, whatever the case may be. So we're just going to turn yearly on. And it starts on 5/5/2022 and repeats every year. And our options here are on May 5th or on the first Thursday of May. Of course, it's a birthday, so it's on May 5th, but there are some holidays, some other things that may happen on the first Thursday of May. So it wants to make sure, and you have that option. Another thing you can do is choose an end date. So if you are going to meet weekly with your contractor for a month while you're building an addition onto your house, you can put that in there and then it will end after that month's time has ended. My nephew's birthday will never end as long as I'm alive. So we're going to go ahead and not pick an end date. It'll just continue on forever and hit save there. And we can add in more details if we want. But the reminder is a key here because I don't want to be reminded the day before. I want to be reminded like a week before his birthday. And then we'll hit save. And now Bobby's birthday will show up in my calendar. And if I jump forward to 2023 using the navigation up at the top here, I'll see Bobby's birthday is again, hold on, May. Bobby's birthday is on a Friday next year. And I can see that going forward into the future. Oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock. Are there any questions?
Let's see. I think nothing that we didn't cover. You kind of went through sharing your calendar and all that good stuff. So unless you wanted to talk about that in more depth, I don't see any.
Sure. I can talk about it in a little bit more depth. So over on the left of your calendar in Outlook, you have this option to share your calendar. Whoops. And you can choose how much access to allow a person to share in your calendar, meaning can they just see when you're busy or can they see the name and the time of the events you're doing things? Or can they see all the details of all your events? So you'll have to put in the email of the person you're sharing your calendar with. This might be nice if you're running a household or if you have a family member who helps get you to appointments, things like that. And you have to choose the level of what they can do. Can they view all the details or can they edit your calendar? Can they put things on your calendar? And then you will share that out with them, and then they have that ability to either see or edit your calendar. Awesome. Thank you for the question. I don't think we have any more.
Yeah, I don't see anymore. Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for your wonderful questions today. And stay tuned for a follow up email from me in the next few days with a link to a recording of today's presentation. I hope some of you will join us next week to talk more about Word and using that to craft documents in the cloud with Office 365. Again, thank you all so much for joining us today for Technology Tuesdays. If you are interested in any other programs from the Milwaukee Public Library, I'd highly encourage you to check out mpl.org/calendar. We have a host of really awesome programs coming up, live and in person and virtual. We're doing all the things. So I can't recommend that enough. Once again, thank you and have a wonderful rest of your week.